We're always told that being smart is basically a superpower, right? The key to a better, easier life. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the sharpest minds are actually the ones facing some of the toughest, most hidden struggles? Today, we're going to dive into the other side of high intelligence and look at what the psychology says about the real challenges that come with a powerful mind.
In this quote, this really just nails it. The point isn't that intelligent people don't have problems. Of course they do. It's that their problems are, well, they're just different. The struggle doesn't vanish. It just morphs into something else. So what does this different form of struggle actually look like in the real world? Let's break it down.
All right, first up, let's go right inside the mind itself. We're going to explore what happens when a brain that's built for high performance, well, it just refuses to power down, and how that can lead straight to some serious burnout.
Okay, so imagine your brain is like a top-of-the-line supercomputer and it's stuck running incredibly complex simulations 24/7. It's just constantly analyzing every conversation, deconstructing every little problem, questioning every assumption. And not because it wants to, but because that's its default setting. It's an incredible piece of hardware, for sure, but man, does it consume a ton of energy. Just think about the last time you couldn't stop thinking about something. Now imagine that feeling is just normal.
And here's exactly how that burnout cycle works. It all starts with this totally natural, built-in drive for deep analysis. But because that analysis feature never, ever turns off, the brain just loses its ability to truly shut down and recharge. So the end result of all this constant mental churn? A deep, chronic sense of mental exhaustion.
So that's the internal battle that's always going on. But how does all this nonstop brain activity affect how we connect with other people? Well, this brings us to our second hidden cost, this really profound sense of social loneliness that's all caused by, basically, thinking at a different speed.
The key idea here is something called cognitive tempo mismatch. And this isn't about one person being smarter than someone else. Not at all. It's a fundamental difference in how fast people process stuff. It's kind of like one person is listening to a podcast at normal speed and the other person has it cranked up to double speed. I mean, they're both hearing the same words, but they're having completely different experiences. How could you ever really connect on the same level?
And here's what that mismatch looks like in a real conversation. The high IQ mind, it often just sees the final destination, the conclusion, almost instantly. It connects all the dots on a flash and just leaps ahead. Meanwhile, the typical mind is moving more methodically, going from point A to point B to point C, building the argument piece by piece. Now, both are totally valid ways of thinking, but they're just not always running in sync.
So what's the big deal? What actually happens when this isn't just a random thing, but it's something you feel almost every single day? What's the real human cost of constantly feeling like you're out of step with pretty much everyone around you?
Well, the result is often these really deep emotional wounds. You can be in a room packed with people and feel completely and utterly alone, just because it feels like nobody is on your wavelength. Your attempts to speed things up and connect might come off as being impatient or even arrogant. And your quick conclusions can make other people feel like you weren't even listening, leading to this constant, painful feeling of just being misunderstood.
Now, this feeling of being misunderstood, it doesn't just stick to our social lives. It can actually be even more intense at work. And that brings us to our third hidden cost, the dilemma that happens when a deeply logical mind has to function inside systems that often aren't very logical at all.
You see, for a brain that is wired for logic, an inefficient process or a rule that makes no sense, well, it's not just annoying. It feels fundamentally wrong. It's like finding a bug in the code of reality. And the natural response isn't to just shrug and follow the rule. It's to ask why and try to fix the underlying flaw.
And this is exactly where things get messy. On one hand, you have the employee, who is laser-focused on logic and efficiency, always asking why, because they want to make the system better. But from the manager's point of view, which is often about keeping things stable and maintaining order, that constant questioning of why can look a lot like a direct challenge to their authority. It can look like insubordination. And the crazy thing is, neither person is necessarily wrong, but their core goals are in direct conflict.
Okay, so we've talked about the brain that won't shut off, the social disconnect, and the friction at work. Let's pull all these threads together now and really get a handle on what this new form of struggle means.
So what are the real hidden costs we're talking about? It's not about struggling with a math problem. It's the daily struggle of constant mental exhaustion. It's the deep pain of feeling socially isolated, even when you're surrounded by people. And it's the endless frustration of professional conflict. These are the unique battles that can come with a high IQ.
So what we're really seeing is that intelligence isn't some magic shield that protects you from hardship. It's more like a lens that doesn't remove life's challenges, but it completely changes their shape. The struggle becomes less about trying to understand the world and a lot more about trying to navigate your way through it.
Which, of course, leaves us with this one big question to think about. After exploring all these hidden costs, how should we really look at high intelligence? Is it purely a gift? Or is it maybe a bit of a curse in disguise? Or is the truth, like with most things in life, somewhere much,